Good morning, Kabroda crew. Welcome back. Hopefully y'all are doing well back here on Thursday for another live stream. Yeah, checking out the charts, seeing what's going on. Looks like we already got a couple people in the chat, so welcome into y'all. Looks like we got Kathleen here and Terry, so thanks for coming. Yeah, thanks for hanging out with us today. Should be a pretty good day today. We'll see what's going on with the market, kind of see what's happening, and then kind of break down maybe the longer time frame a little bit, get ready for the weekend. So yeah, hopefully y'all are doing well, and having a good Thursday so far. I know this week's not been too interesting. We've been a lot of stand down. We did have a little bit of trading in the way of 1 hour time frame and such. I believe that was Monday. It might have been yesterday then, or sorry, Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday we had a little bit of a 1 hour trade. We had a 4 hour trade as well, but it did not go all the way up to the target on the 4 hour. So that one kind of just ran sideways mostly. Our system kind of told us to get out, probably about break even really. So really, technically, yes, I guess it was a loss in the fact that we didn't really get the trade per se, but it was not a loss in the fact that it came down and hit our stop loss or anything. So yeah, obviously, win some, you lose some. That's trading. It's how it works. But overall not too bad of a week. Just nothing super exciting, nothing super crazy. Haven't had any 15-minute trades either, so in terms of the shorter time frame, we haven't had too much going on here. Overall, we kind of ran up a little bit in the beginning of this week. Now we're kind of running sideways to down. Coming today, we're actually looking for a little more down. This trade I have on here is actually a 4 hour trade. We'll take a look at here in a little bit. It's just one the system's calling. Our system is still working on its longer time frame trade, so we're still kind of working with it, getting them kind of honed in. 15-minute is really more our jam. It's more what we've been working on for most of the time, but we're trying to get our system a little better about reading maybe the longer time frames and being able to call a little bit longer time frame calls. So yeah, we'll see kind of here in the future how it kind of handles it, but for right now it's just kind of it's there and it's working, and it's not too bad. It's just not 100% yet. So I guess just take it with a grain of salt. But yeah, for right now, that's kind of the trade it's looking at. So we got a little bit of a move down here to 63.7. It does have some lower targets here at 62.7-ish, and then 61, pretty much break even, a little bit above 61.71, but pretty close to 61,000. So, there's two extra targets. I believe it's mainly calling this target if you went and kind of read the breakdown. So that's really not calling it too far, I guess. Just a little bit of a breakdown. Right now we're kind of hitting this resistance zone, bouncing off of it. We'll see what happens after the 8:30 candle. If you guys have been around for a while, we like to watch this 8:30 candle because that's typically when you'll see a lot of volatility kind of come into the market. It's actually a time that you want to be a little mindful of how you're, if you're in the market, you want to be mindful of where's your stop at and stuff like that, because it could have a lot of volatility in the opposite way of what you're wanting. So just something to pay attention to. Not that we can't have volatility any other time, but 8:30 is actually when the New York stock exchange opens. So you want to be mindful that I think maybe it's futures, I don't remember. One of them opens so at 8:30, so you want to be mindful. 8:30 our time, so 9:30 I guess in New York, and then 6:30 if you're on the other side of the US. But yeah, it opens then, and a lot of people jump on their computers. There's bots that come in and buy, all that sort of stuff. So it's just a lot of volatility coming in, a lot of just volume coming into the market. So something you want to watch out for. Just like, today we're having a little bit of bounce off of this resistance. So it's not necessarily against TA, but it is, maybe some volatility in the way that you weren't expecting. All right. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the gist of things. Go ahead and we can kind of get started here, jumping on into stuff. Gave everybody about 5 minutes or so to jump into the live stream here, so we'll just go ahead, jump in, get started with some TA, kind of see what's happening. These are yesterday's lines on here right now, so I haven't updated these, but we'll go ahead and do that, see what else is going on, kind of read through the daily brief, and yeah, see what's going on. So let's head on over to Kabroda.com to start her out. So it looks like today, BTC is sitting around 65,405. As we know, obviously, it's a little bit lower right now, around 65,000. But again, this is just the snapshot that it grabs in the morning whenever it starts up the system. So 8 o'clock is around there. Today we are bearish with 4 out of 5 of our indicators showing bearish. We're exhausted. So, even though we are bearish, we're getting to the point where we're kind of tired of going down basically and ready to get a little retrace. Obviously this is talking about the just today, so we are exhausted today. The jewel is aligning with our bearish sentiment right now, so that's good for us. And then we have the multi-agent system telling us that it is a stand down day today, so we have no trade, no 15-minute trade specifically called for today. Breakout at today is at 65,998.75, and breakdown is at 64,959.48. You can pause the video, take a snapshot if you want, but we're going to go ahead and put those on our chart here in just a second, so I'm going to copy those. We do have one trade getting called today here on the Kabroda system. So it's saying that we're looking for a down trade, a short trade, with the entry of 65,420. So about 8 o'clock this morning, maybe a little bit earlier, could have jumped into this with a stop of 67,081 and target of 63,758.90. So we're looking for a little bit of a drop down. Already that's the trade I had marked on my chart. So if you guys saw that, that's what this trade here is. Again, like I said, this is still being worked on, so it's not really like set in stone yet. I mean, it doesn't mean it could be wrong. It just means that it's still being tested. It's not like fully done. Yeah, we got our trigger levels, so we'll go ahead back to Kabroda, not Kabroda, we'll go back to TradingView here, and we're going to go ahead and set up our levels. Just notice I have like this extra numbers over here. Oh, it's like BTCs. That's weird. Oh. Wonder how that got down there. Let's get that back up there. One sec. Move these back into here, so we can see our moving averages again. There we go. All right. Let's throw our lines on there and see what's going on for today. So we'll grab our indicator here, turn off Wednesday, we're going to turn on Thursday, and we'll throw our lines on. All right, so here we go. We got our breakdown down here in purple, hard to see with the yellow dash on it, but it's right there. Pretty much where we're bouncing right now. We do have a yellow dash line there, which is the 30-minute range. That extends all the way up to our breakout line up here. So this little green line under the other yellow dashed line is our breakout line. And then, this whole range is going to be our 30-minute range here for today. We do have daily support up here near the breakout line, so pretty interesting there. It's a pretty nice little gap between the breakdown line and the daily support. Up here in the red dash, we have our daily resistance, which is also a pretty good gap in terms of, you know, the breakout line and that. So if we were to measure that, you know, it's a pretty decent gap, 0.61. And then our other one is a pretty much 0.61 too. So pretty nice little gap there on both of them. You know, if you're looking at them, you'd rather it go down with how it's set up right now, because just, you know, based off how we used to look at the gaps, because when the daily support is within the range here that we have, so the breakdown and breakout range, typically it means that you're going to see more of a breakdown, or it can continue down further than if it was on the outside. So if it's on the outside, typically you'll actually target it. So right now, if we broke to the upside, we'd be targeting this daily resistance. And that's about as far as we would think it would go. You know, it could go farther, but that would be kind of our old system, would be to target that. If it's on the inside, though, obviously you can't target it down here because it's way up there. So we just have free range to kind of drop down. Obviously, you know, we've learned a little bit more since that system, so a little bit different. We don't put as much merit into them, but pretty good sign, I guess, if you're looking at it as you know, an indicator of maybe which direction are we going to go, or how far are we going to go. Down is definitely looking like a good option here, with a nice drop to 63,700, pretty possible. So that 4-hour trade, you know, could be pretty good here. Oops. Let's see, what else can we figure out from our line? So the 30-minute range, typically we'll look for that to be on either side. So if it's closer to breakdown or closer to the breakout, typically it'll run to the side that it's closer to. Obviously today it's kind of spread the width of our whole range here, so it's not really telling us much of anything for that. It's just kind of, you know, middle line. If anything, that's actually a signal we normally use to not trade. So maybe it's telling us, you know, kind of stay away from the charts, kind of wide range there. Yeah, that's kind of really it that we can gather from the whole thing. Actually, what's this green line for? Oh, okay, never mind. This green line is going to be my entry line, so here, we'll take that off. There we go. So I guess the daily support or daily breakout is way up here, so the range looks a lot better now. So you do look more like you're going to go to the downside. So yeah, that's way up there. The gap isn't as wide. We do actually have the breakout or the daily resistance on the inside of the range though, so that's a little more interesting, I guess. But again, you know, not a great gap there. So downside is actually looking a lot better than I initially thought, with thinking that the daily breakout was right there under that line. So, you know, with the 30-minute range down here closer to the breakdown line, you got the daily support inside the zones. I mean, that's looking pretty good for a down run here. Don't know why I have another dashed line here. Oh wait, never mind. Oh man, I'm just confusing myself now. We'll do this. There we go. Looks a little cleaner, easier to see now. Yeah, so looking like a very possible down run today. Looking pretty good, yeah, for that down run. We'll see what happens here. But yeah, just looking off of the chart, we're looking for some down action here. If we check out the 4-hour, where our trade is actually calling here. basically that breakdown there that we're calling on the 4-hour here with our trade down. Our target is basically the bottom of this candle wick here. So kind of interesting, you know, if we did come down and actually tap that, it'd be an interesting place to bounce off of. If we broke through it and got a close, it'd actually probably show that we're gonna at least flip trend here and maybe start to break down a little bit on the 4-hour, maybe get below our 200 again. We'll see what happens. Again, you know, you have to just kind of wait for the chart to play out. But if that did happen, if we did come down here and actually broke and closed below, that's more than likely what's going to happen. It's going to break that 200 and continue down a little bit. If we don't break the low here, if we just come down and, you know, tap it and start to bounce back up, it could kind of be a double bottom of sorts, and we can see a little bit of continuation to the upside. So we'll see what happens here. We are in a micro trend to the upside, so you can kind of see we got obviously we broke down here. I guess technically, yeah, I guess we need to break down farther than that. We need to come down here to this green zone basically to show signs of breaking down. Originally, I was thinking, you know, this was the last low before the high, but looking at it now with a little bit more back room, I would say, you know, you have your low here, low, higher, high, you have a higher low, and then we kind of just come up here to the higher high. This all is just kind of the run up to there. So really you need to come all the way down to here, get below that before we could see a trend flip here and show us signs of breaking down. So if we just come down to there, it doesn't really mean much anything, at least on the 4-hour. You know, maybe smaller time frames that could be more of a trend flip, but we'll see what happens here. We do have that 1-hour 200 right there, so something to kind of watch out for. Interesting, it kind of lines up with a lot of our resistance that we were talking about right here, or I guess support rather, since it, well, now it's kind of flipping to resistance, but you know what I mean. There's some sort of resistance or support lines right there that price is kind of, you know, bouncing off of, fighting with. So once we get through all of that, we'll probably see some downward action here. I guess probably pretty close to our target. We'll see what happens. You know, it's too early to tell still. We did a nice double top, you know, on the daily here yesterday. So if we do get a little bit of a down run, that would kind of show confirmation that we are going to in fact double top here and continue down. To really confirm the double top is actually happening there, we would need price action to kind of break down. Honestly, it would need to break all the way down past here really to confirm it. So we got a little bit. We got a long little bit before we can actually confirm that that was really a double top. Obviously, you know, people trade it before they confirm it, but you know, just TA wise, we would need to come all the way down to here, get a close below the around 57.9 before we can confirm that that's breaking down there. Weekly still looks the same overall, so we won't say too much about it, but you know, we're still in that bear wave 4. We need to confirm bear wave 5 by dropping below 60,000 and getting a close, and you know, we'll probably talk about that in the daily brief as well, so won't say too much about that. If you haven't been around the channel for a while, basically what we're looking for it to do is either break down, get a close below 60,055, I believe, or go up and get a close above 80,630 something, I think is what it is. We'll go check right now. We'll head back to Kabroda.com and kind of check out the daily brief here and see what's going on with the structure today. So today VTC structure is vetoed. There's 3 independent blockers killing the session. Bitcoin sits at 65,146 inside 1,039 opening range. 187 points above the lower structural boundary at 64,959 and 852 points below the upper boundary at 65,999. No trades being issued today. 3 independent disqualifying conditions are active simultaneously, and all 3 must resolve before the valid setup can be constructed. So the structural picture: prices progressing through bear wave 4, corrective rally that originated at 60,055. There's the first level that we were talking about. Wave 3 low, and that is wave 3 low, and carries a structural ceiling at 80,632, and that's the second level that we were talking about. So we either need to break that at 60,055 or break the 80,632 before we can really confirm which way are we going. Right now, we're just kind of ranging until one of those happens. The bounce is approximately 27% complete. Daily and weekly structure remain bearish, with higher time frame momentum stretched at elevated readings that signal this rally is operating on borrowed structural energy. A weekly close above 80,632 rewrites the bear count entirely. Weekly close below 60,055 activates bear wave 5 and the structural map targets of 42,000 and 45,000 zone. So, like we just talked about, we can either break that 80,632. That'll put us into more of a bullish sentiment. We'll be looking for price to continue up. We have to kind of reevaluate at that point, see where we're going to go. But if we do break 60,055, get a close below, then we're looking for 42 to 45,000. We've been calling 50,000 because it's just a big fat and round number, a little bit more conservative, I guess, of a call, but the real call is 42 to 45,000. Market sentiment for today. So the fear and greed index is 31. That's just in the fear section. So if you've been keeping up with that for a while, obviously we were down in extreme fear a little bit ago, really not too long ago. Now we're kind of running up into just fear. So that reflects the broader market risk aversion at a level historically associated with defensive positioning. Total crypto market capitalization stands at 2.31 trillion, down 57% in 24 hours, or 0.57% in 24 hours. With 59.7 billion in volume, confirming active but cautious participation. The fear reading is internally consistent with the bearish 4 out of 5 timeframe structure. Sentiment and structural evidence align rather than conflict, but alignment zones does not generate a tradable signal. So today's energy, the energy is fractured. 4 of the 5 timeframes are printing bearish directional signals. The daily, the weekly, and hourly all carry bearish structure, while the 15-minute has produced no directional velocity, with competing forces canceling each other out. 4-hour is the lone bullish vote. The hourly trend is not decelerated. ADX is rising at 20.28 on the bearish trend, indicating the corrective move is gaining energy, not fading. Cross time frame exhaustion signals have been persistent across every time frame position for more than 24 hours. This is a structural condition, not a single candle anomaly. Simultaneously, volatility compression is present across the hourly, 4-hour, and daily time frames. The volatility expansion is loading, but its direction has not been resolved, so we don't know which way it's going to go. We just know that there is some volatility kind of building up, getting ready to fire in one of the directions. Again, 15-minute, not really calling anything today. That's what we talked about earlier in the day. Some of the longer time frames are still calling for a bearish structure. Obviously 4-hour is bullish. Kind of interesting, the system's calling a bear trade and then saying that the 4-hour is bullish, but that's just kind of reading the TA, and the trade is trade. So a little bit different stuff that goes on for looking into that. All right, we got 3 blockers firing today, each independently sufficient to stand down. So this is why we're staying down, not trading the 15-minute today. So blocker 1, time frame conflict. 4 out of the 5 time frames oppose the single bullish vote from the 4-hourly. Rising hourly ADX on bearish structure does not describe a correction losing energy. It describes a correction accelerating. There's no coherent directional field behind a breakout attempt in either direction. Blocker 2, we have deep momentum compromise. The hourly momentum state is stretched and carrying active exhaustion signals. Cost time frame exhaustion and divergence signals have persisted continuously across every session transition for over 24 hours. 15 minutes producing no directional vote, and the fuel required to reach the second or final structural target does not exist in this session. Yeah, so we're pretty exhausted on a lot of time frames, and we just don't really have the fuel to take us in the direction, either direction really. So, even if the 15-minute was calling more of a direction, it'd be hard to trade just because, there's nothing really behind it. There's nothing to kind of give it that energy to go in either way. Block 3, wide opening range. The session range measures $1,039, 1.60% of the lower structural boundary. Performance data from this weekend is unambiguous. Sessions with an opening range exceed 1%. Produce 0 correct directional calls, cost 4 attempts. This is hardly a disqualifying filter. It operates independently of energy state and structural clarity. It's not hardly. This is a hard disqualifying filter. So essentially, the last 4 or 5 days, BTC has gone against the direction that the system would have said it would go. So essentially, it's saying you just got to take a step back. Essentially, is what it's saying. So why are we seeing it down today? The structural corridors to both the long side, 67,038 to 68,720, and the short side, 63,920 to 62,238, are clean. No major structural clusters obstruct either pass. Short side carries the more coherent structural argument given the 4 out of 5 bearish time frame. Alignment and risk rising hourly ADX. Coherent structural argument, however, is not a trade signal. The volume weighted reference level from the past 24 hours sits at 65,609, acting as a magnetic pull towards the upper half of the opening range. Price is not committed to either boundary. So like I said, bearish is looking a little better, in terms of just looking at price action and looking how the lines line up and stuff, like I was kind of saying earlier. But you do have a lot of stuff above you, as well as the way the lines lined up. There is a chance we could break out to the upside, and there's not a lot of top end on the upside either. So basically what it's saying is you have both. Maybe we're leaning a little bit more bearish, but it's not enough of a lean to kind of say, hey, we're going to go bearish and take a trade based off of that. What would we need to change? So we need all 3 blockers to resolve. Obviously, we're not going to get all 3 to resolve today. So that section's not even worth reading really today, because we just don't have. There's nothing that could really change the kind of outlook on the whole thing. It's just how it is. We're just gonna have to sit on our hands today, kind of hang out, stay off the charts for a little bit. Yeah, that's kind of it for the breakdown. So that's what we're watching for today. That's why we're staying down today. So if you guys are staying up with us, if you're following our system, it's definitely a staying down day. Again, I know we had a lot of those recently, but the market is kind of been in a weird zone. So we're just kind of waiting for it to fire. We're still, we've still been kind of building throughout. We've been changing stuff, kind of updating stuff. We've been honing in our system, learning more and more, and taking all of that knowledge and kind of putting it into honing the system more. So, we'll see how it goes. Once charts start to fire in the right direction and stuff, though, we're thinking the system should be pretty well honed in at this point. Should be pretty good. Kind of calling all the time. So. We're just kind of sitting around waiting for that to kind of come into place, but could be a little bit. So we'll see what happens here. Like I said, we need to close below one of the 2 lows, either 80,000 80,632 or get a close below 60,055. Either way, we'll either break out to the upside and kind of change to more bullish sentiment, or we're going to break down to the downside and we'll be targeting that 42 to 45,000 level. But you know, that's all long time frame. So just for today, 15-minute, we're just kind of staying down. We'll see what happens tomorrow. We'll be watching the charts tomorrow and through the weekend, and hopefully you are too. And we'll be back here on Tuesday. So yeah, thanks for watching again. If you guys enjoyed the content, make sure you hit that thumbs up, hit the subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell notification if you're interested in keeping up with us and staying on top of our content. But other than that, thanks for joining today. Thanks for hanging out with us and checking out the charts, kind of getting a little breakdown of the charts, getting a little breakdown maybe of the longer time frame. But yeah, we'll be back here on Tuesday, 8:30 a.m. That's Central Standard Time, so you guys can change that to your time zone. But other than that, yeah, happy trading to y'all, and we will catch y'all after the weekend. See you later.